a seat at the table with some men with confidence.
Hey, mixed people with white moms, are you okay? Hey, mixed people with white moms, are you okay?
I'm going to apologize in advance here because I feel like I'm going to piss some people off, and I'm not trying to piss anybody off. This is really just truly how I feel. So if you feel differently, let me know. When we're talking about a child that has a black father and a white mother, and then they have these terrible, not always, but some of them have like terrible perspectives on the world and race, I don't blame the white mother. And I'm going to tell you why. When you're raising that kid, when a black man and a white woman are raising that kid, there's only one black person in the room. And it's not her. It's as a black man, it is your responsibility to teach your child about blackness. And you know what? What we don't talk about enough is a lot of black men, not all, but a lot of black men that primarily date white women, they're doing it to escape their own negative stereotypes about blackness. They are trying to increase their proximity to whiteness to feel better about what they are. And when that person and a white person ends up raising a black child, I expect nothing more than fucking chaos. Is her white mom supposed to explain to her shit about race? Her white mom is supposed to do that, or is that is that your responsibility as a black man? Is that your responsibility? And we don't. I feel like we don't talk about that enough in the black community. We want to talk about mixed kids with white moms. We don't talk about the black men that be dating these white girls and that be marrying these white girls. And I got no problem. I have no problem with a black man dating white girls. No problem. But just know that if you have a child with a white woman, it is your responsibility to show that child what blackness is. And if you don't have a positive, good perspective of what blackness is, your child would not.
And welcome to the Open Mics Podcast. We are the Men in Confidence, and we are joined by the whole crew. We have Sean, we have Terrence, we have Rhino. We're going to go one by one and say hello to everyone. Hello, Sean.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
Hello, Rhino.
What's good, everybody?
And hello, Terrence.
Greetings and salutations, peoples. What's going on?
All right. I hope all the peoples is doing well. And today we're going to comment on a video that's going to be tagged in the description. Look there for the link. And you may also see it posted before we talk. But today we're talking about a video where the discussion is about mixed children and whose responsibility is it to teach them about their ethnicity, about their blackness. Does it fall on the white mother? Does it fall on the black father? Does it fall on both? So everyone here has already seen the video. So I'm going to throw the question out. What are your thoughts on the video, and who do you think is responsible for teaching that child about their culture?
I think everyone can agree that if you're in an interracial relationship, you being a black father and your wife being a white mother, I think everybody can agree, everyone here at least can agree, that it's the father's responsibility to teach those kids about their blackness. Because at the end of the day, they're going to go out into a cruel world. And this world is going to look at them. And the people who have dual white parents are going to say, oh, you're black. But I never told you what my race is. Doesn't matter. You're too dark to be white, so you must be black. What, are you Mexican? All right, you don't speak Spanish, so you're black. Okay, but my mom is white. Oh, so you're only half black. They're not going to escape that blackness. So, and it's not that it's a scourge or a curse or anything, but that's how we are perceived in the world. Because believe it or not, the world over, the darker you are, the more you have a problem with people perceiving you in a negative light. These are facts. I am not making this up. You don't probably don't even have to go any further than where you're sitting or standing or riding right now to know that that is the truth. So the responsibility of teaching these kids about their heritage goes to the father. Not that they should be denied their white heritage too, because I already have it in my mind. If I have a daughter with a white woman, I'm going to explain to her, baby, yes, you're black, but you're white too. You know, you're two halves of um, two great peoples. So, what does that make you? Well, that's going to make you whatever you define yourself as. Just don't let the world define you. And I'll toss it to whoever wants to take it.
Okay. So, who is responsible? I lean with Randall in saying that yes, it is the responsibility of the black parent, because I feel like this would work either way, whether it's a black man and a white woman or a black woman and a white man. The black parent is responsible for providing the black cultural experience to the child. And this is not necessarily meant to sound harsh, but it's kind of hard for the non-black parent to provide that because it's not their culture. It's not their way. You know, I can't tell somebody what it's like to be blind if I've got 20/20 vision. That's not going to work. And I feel like this is kind of the same thing. If you're not a part of the culture, if it's not your natural culture, it just kind of goes with, you know, the parent who is from that culture to be responsible and take the forefront and take the lead on making sure that the child is aware. And I get the concept that a lot of times people look at the mother specifically in these instances as the person who should shoulder the load, because moms typically have the kids. Moms are typically the ones who spend more time with the children. They're typically the ones who do more of the influencing of the children one way or the other, just again because of the amount of time spent, whereas dad is kind of off providing, working, whatever, if he's present, because you got to be honest, and that's a part of it too. But so a lot of time is spent with mom, and because of that, people tend to align with the idea that it's up to the mother. That's a fair-ish point, but in an actual functional working ideal family situation, both parents are still actively involved, and there are going to be some things that mom is responsible for. There are going to be some things dad is responsible for, and it just, that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be all on one person. And you know, if, like, for instance, my wife is way better at history than I am, so she can absolutely handle all the historical stuff. Now, if they need some help with, like, you know, certain pop culture references or some more frivolous things, that's where dad comes in, because, you know, I'm kind of the fun dad, so to speak, kind of. Might not say that now, but that's, you know, it's all about balance in that regard. So that's the point that I'm trying to get across with ideal situations. But back to the main point, it's on the parent who is the black parent to expose and provide that cultural education.
I think I definitely gonna fall in here and actually say that, kind of aligning with everyone else, you know, the black parent, if you're in an interracial relationship, I do think it kind of falls on them to, you know, teach the culture, make sure. I know me as a black male, like you said, you know, I would want to make sure that my interracial daughter, you know, has both facets of, you know, of her history, but definitely me being a black man, I want to make sure she knows that part of her culture. And so But as like Terrence has said, with the balance, I lean strongly to that as well, because if and 9 times out of 10, if I was ever married to an interracial female, a female of a different culture, and this is, forgive me for saying the right, I'm gonna put it in air quotations, you guys can't see those, but most likely I'm married to the right one for me, and we've probably already got a bit of a balance between our two cultures. So 9 times out of 10, she being my 50-50 partner, even in just the parenting of this child, is and should be on the same page as me, with both of us wanting her to know both her cultures, her histories, and where they're coming from. We're gonna work together as a team to get that done in an ideal situation. I think any situation other than that is kind of less than ideal, because you can't skip it. I'm with the wrong woman of another culture, and because I don't want to pick on one, left or right. Could be Latino, could be Caucasian, whatever it is. But I'm definitely with the wrong one if she wants to delete or skip or ignore the the cultural my part of it. You know what I'm saying? Me being black, she wants to ignore that and say, our daughter isn't black or Caucasian or Latino, she's something completely different. And I kind of would be like, I mean, yeah, that is true, but it's not, because I do have a tendency to, like Ronald was kind of saying at the beginning, I do have a tendency to lean and have been. It's been my life experience. And we have a friend of mine. I wonder if he's listening to this, if he ever gets to listen to it. I wonder if he remembers making this comment. But I had always heard that once you put chocolate syrup in the milk, it becomes chocolate milk. Some variation, some form, it may be really light, but it's gonna be considered chocolate. It's no longer white milk. You can't sell it in the stores as white milk. If you put it up there and people are gonna go, this looks kind of tinted, I'm putting that back, I want white milk. That's what they're gonna go for. It's gonna become some form of chocolate milk. Now, again, that's not saying either or is better. And I think, to wrap up my summary and my statement, yes, that's why you want them to know both cultures. But yes, me being the black male in that equation, then it falls on, if she doesn't do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna let you know what it is from my eyesight to be black, what it feels like, what our experience is, what my experience is, and my pride in my culture and where we're from. I want you to know that part. So I'll put that down there and pass it on to Tony.
Appreciate it, Sean. Okay, so let's review some of the details about the video, because I think what happens in the video and the way that it comes at us is important. Because first it starts off asking if the mixed child is okay, and the mixed child doesn't look to be okay. And then the guy comes in and starts commenting and says that if it's a white woman and then it's a black male, then it's on the black male to teach that culture. And I'm not saying that I disagree with that. Here's my concern or my thoughts about that. Let's dissect this a little bit. Okay. So typically when you see a black man with a white woman, what picture does that black man have of the black community? Is it a positive one? Is it negative? So, and I'm not going to answer that. I'll let you think about that by yourself. So, this is what I think. I think typically when you see a black man with a white woman, and we're not talking about, millionaires and Hollywood people. I'm talking about regular people. When you typically see a black man with a white woman, it's typically because he couldn't get a black woman or one of the ones that he shot for. And typically, that dude is kind of ostracized by the black community. He's either too nerdy, too geeky, not enough swag. Something is offset with him, right? Maybe he's a little too brainy. And what happens is he ends up finding somebody that will pair with him where he didn't get the opportunities before. So my thing is this, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong, right? I'm saying that this is probably what happens. When this black guy gets with this white woman and the opportunity is there for him to teach culture that he don't have many good experiences to teach. So he would rather this child grow up not having a black identity or having some blank slate so that they can be whatever they want to be, instead of trying to teach them the black culture that he experienced that he didn't experience well. Now, I'm not giving an excuse for him, but I'm just saying that that's what I see happening. I think what happens is that a lot of times the black person that marries out of the race, they make that decision like, okay, if I made this decision to marry outside of the race, right, then I have also decided that my child is going to be whatever they want to be. I'm not going to make them choose between black and white. They're going to get the opportunity to discover it of themselves and then make their own decision as far as which way to go. I'm not going to push blackness onto them. And I'm going to leave it at that. Y'all can respond to that if y'all want to. And then we'll get to the next question.
Yeah, I definitely want to respond to that because as you said it, I was thinking about two interracial couples that I know, and neither of the guys fit the description that you gave, right? One of them was like, an athlete, and he was, but so he had the swag and the charisma and could kind of had that opportunity to get whomever he wanted to and whatnot. And he was very much so in tune and dialed in with his cultural responsibilities and was like not aloof or had, to my knowledge, negative experiences. The other one was just a regular guy. I mean, he was, definitely identified and knew who he was and understood his position in regards to being a black man. He just happened to have a white girl, a white wife, and interracial children. But he had good experiences across the board, black, white, whatever. So I don't know if I can agree with that specifically. In the first situation, the first guy was referring to absolutely made it a point to try and kind of make sure that the kids were aware of both cultures, to the point to where it wasn't necessarily contentious, but it was a bit of a strain sometimes because mom didn't always see things quite as far as he did. But that's, kind of to be expected since that wasn't her experience. So, and those were some interesting waters that they navigated, and they've managed to do so swimmingly, keeping with the water theme, over the course of things, and it's worked. The other couple, not sure exactly where they're at right now because they had some other issues outside of that within their dynamic, but for the most part, they too didn't necessarily I won't say estrange, but hide or leave it up to the kids to kind of discover on their own. They were very much so aware. And I think that's the important part in how this should work is, the non-black partner has to at least be open to and receptive to there being another culture in play here. You know, we talk a lot of times about situations where guys have these women that they've had children with and are not allowed to be a part of the child's life. In this in particular instance, where we're talking about interracial relationships, the non-black partner has to be open to allowing allowing space for another culture to be introduced and shared with their child as well.
Oh, okay. So he's going. All right, you leaving it there. I wasn't sure when you were putting it down from that standpoint. All right, so I'm gonna go back. Originally, I kind of understand what Tony is saying. I have met, both types. I have seen both types, and I'm gonna go ahead and come out the bag here a little bit. I was playing around with different ethnicities, but we're gonna focus on black and white. And so black men specifically with white women, sorry. I've seen all kinds. I have seen the type that Tony is kind of referring to, some of those ones that, and when he talks about, I'm going to take this from the perception of what he was saying, how was it perceived as a black man coming from the other side in the black community from that standpoint, right? Walking through Walmart, you see a particular guy, you see the white lady, no matter what she looks like, but or once you realize, oh, they're a couple, okay, then you make an assessment of him real quick. You know, to be, okay, I get it. He looks, nerdy, big and frumpy, whatever the case would be. That looked like the only kind of girl he probably could get. He probably had to go after whatever girl would have gave him the time of day, because I wouldn't be worried about him with my girl. And you know what I'm saying? Because he ain't got no league, he ain't got no match for me. Not a loss to the black male community from that standpoint. I'm just gonna say from that standpoint. I have seen that, so I understand what he's saying. I've seen other ones. I've known guys that they wanted to be too, as far as the black guy, they want to be that guy in the relationship that's 3 seconds from heavy hand. Not to say that I haven't met black guys, and if they heavy handed, with women, black women, where white women, it doesn't matter. But all that verbal, all that certain things, let me put it this way, certain things that I've heard some of these black guys that might be with white women say and act, it's like, yeah, you'd have never got away with that with a sister. She'd have dragged you all over this Walmart, all over this Target, cause what did he say? Ooh, let me go about my business and just get my corn and walk off this aisle before, because you could only be with a white woman. You'd have been up and down these aisles with a black sister. So I see why you got one. And again, you are disqualified, not a loss to us. Now, on the other side, there are some, and we do that judgment. There are some black men, educated, that type of thing. And for those, this is what I'm going to say. For those, I have kind of come to understand that some of them will want to be in a level where they've already made the decision to date a white woman. We know our history with the Caucasian couple. We know history. You know what I'm saying? We know what happened. They say, oh, it was 200 years ago. No. You know what I'm saying? But we still know what happened. And in order to date a white woman, you have to have already wrapped your head around, and battled with that, how you're going to go forward with that. And a lot of the times it is a neutrality. Like, you'll decide that people are just people all over the world. So you've already made your decision with that. So now you have a child with her, and you might have a tendency to lean more toward that side where you want to be like, it's just people. You want to tell your daughter, you want to tell your son, you're just a person. You see what I'm saying? Because people are all just people. And all this black and white and all this back and forth and Latino and this and that, we shouldn't be doing that. We should all just be people and love each other as people. Because you already had to get over that hump to be with this white lady. You know what I'm saying? You already had to be in a different space in some ways. And that's just my take on it. This is not the official absolute disclaimeration of all parties, and we are not trying to officially say do I need that disclaimer? No, I ain't worried about it. But that's That's my feeling. I mean, I'm just I feel like some of them. So yeah, those might be the type uh, of black folks that would teach their kids you're just a person, and you should go out in life and treat it as in you're just a person. Whether you decide to learn the history behind the black culture, the white culture, the Latino culture, whatever else you are, is completely up to you. I don't want to push it on you because we're all just people. So I kind of get, kind of those two halves where Tony was saying, because I've seen both of them, so I can see that from that standpoint. But to say all that, I'm still going back to my original point, and I'll close with that. I still say, ideally, that's not where you should be. Be aware of where you come from so you can know where you're going.
I am never letting myself go last again. Because I'm trying to remember what Tony said. But I remember what Tony said. But so I have a somewhat unique perspective out of everybody in the group. Am I the only person in this group that is dating a white woman?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So,
real quick, no, absolutely not.
Okay, good. So from what I've seen, from my experience, I haven't seen what the gentleman in the video laid out. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I haven't seen it. What I have seen is a white mother with 5 children, for a black man. And I remember her getting upset because of something that her ex-husband were teaching the kids. And when I heard what he was teaching them, she was presented to me because I was her friend, and she, I guess she wanted me to say, "Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. He shouldn't be teaching them that." But I heard what he was teaching them, and I'm like, "Yeah, he's right." The world is going to see them as being black. I'm sorry. It's just like Sean said, you mix some chocolate into some white milk. Guess what? It is no longer white milk. I don't care how much chocolate you mix in there. It is no longer white milk. You can't even sell it as white milk. So these kids are gonna grow up in a world where people are gonna look at them and be like, "Oh yeah, he's black." And I've met people that if they were thinking, they wouldn't have said what they said to me. So this one was like, "Yeah, I had a child for my boyfriend. He's black. My parents didn't didn't like him, because he's black." And then she made a distinction. She said, "Oh, he's not black like you." I'm like, "Okay, so what black like me is he? What are you talking about?" Turns out her boyfriend was half black, but her parents saw him as 100% black, and they didn't like him. Also, he knocked up their daughter. So it just is what it is. But this woman that was complaining about what her ex-husband was teaching her black kids, I realized that she is living in a white bubble. Well, or at least she was raised in a white bubble. So she's not going to see things the way that black people see things. And she's an intelligent woman, book-wise. She got great book smarts, but as far as living in black skin, she has no clue. I mean, she understands the concept that of black people being afraid when they're pulled over by the cops, but she doesn't really understand it because she hasn't lived it. She hasn't had that experience. So she's gonna have this. That's wrong. You shouldn't teach them that. But I'm like, no, he's right. They need to learn that. They need to know that, hey, the world is going to see me differently because of my melanin makeup. And so, and don't get me wrong, there's lots that can be said about the father. A lot of it quite negative. but I'm not gonna sit here and bash him. The thing is, the one time that he was right, and that was on this subject. You know, they're black. They're gonna be treated as such. At the end of the day, they're gonna be treated as such. They may be able to get a little further than full black people, but at the end of the day, they're gonna be treated as such. And then not only that, I had a friend. His dad's black, his mom's white. Um, but he was primarily raised around his black family, and he was telling me about how he had to prove his blackness to his black family because they were constantly trying to punk him out. And he's like, "No, you're not gonna punk me. I had to stand his ground. He had to let them know, no, you're not gonna come at me like that." You know, he identifies more with blackness being black people than other than many mixed kids that I've seen. And but he's a smart guy, but he had to go into the world realizing that, look, I may be considered full black, even though I have a white mom, but to white people, they're going to see me as white. And to black people, they're going to see me. Black people are going to see me as white. White people are going to see me as black. That's a line he's had to walk his entire life. And then he meets Mexican people and they start speaking Spanish to him because he looks Mexican. He's like, "Hey, what? I don't know what you're saying. I'm not Mexican." So, yes, this idea still stands that there may be a black man that would look at the black community and not want to be associated with it. He might not want to raise his kids, his half-white kids, with those negative stereotypes. And so, that's, he can do that. That's his business, as far as I'm concerned. But just like anybody going out into the world, they're going to have a hard time. And if he doesn't teach them, they're going to learn. They're going to learn. Or they'll learn. Trust me, they will learn. And I don't think I can add anything more to that.
Okay, so I'll continue the conversation a little bit. So there are two areas. How black people are seen to the world and how black people are seen to other black people. And I do think that if you have a mixed couple, right, I do think that it's a pretty good idea for that parent, or for either parent, as much as they have knowledge of, to try to give a real world view of potential dangers in the world for you being a black person. Here's one of my issues, is that, so think about the language that we use. We use black, we use light skin, we use half black, mulatto, like 1/8, 1/4, 1/8. His daddy, his mama white, his daddy white. There are so many hurdles, lines, qualifications that we black people use to qualify other black people. And I'm not saying that this is right, but I can easily understand how a parent would leave that out, because you shouldn't have to qualify to be black. If you are black, whether you half black or 1/4 black, or you got a cousin that was black, and whatever percentage of Negro blood you may have, that should be enough. Let me paint another picture. Okay, so let's take, and I said we were going to talk about famous people. Let's talk about some famous people. Let's talk about, like, we're gonna put Ice Cube, Barack Obama, Alfonso Ribeiro. Is any of these people more black than the other?
No, they're all.
No.
I mean, no. Not
Yes.
by ethnicity.
Okay, so
Not
that's a
by
quick.
ethnicity.
That's a quick answer. But if they weren't famous and they walked down the street, would they get the same treatment by other black people?
Yes.
Why not?
Come on. Okay, so you're saying that
And you're saying after I've heard them talk now. So I will say this. You
Right.
know, after a conversation, walking down the street, in the store, cross over here, a quick nod. You know, they're gonna get that same consideration from me. What's up? Oh, that's all I'm gonna do. So
I'm not talking about from you personally.
right, I know what you're saying, just in general, the perception. But I don't know if the perception changes just because Barack would be in a suit. You know, Alfonso would. Well, I mean, Alfonso's. I feel like Alfonso's perception would definitely be changed if we saw the Fresh Prince version of him. You know, he's gonna have a cardigan on and look, be looking like Chad. Just off view look, some people might be like, but then they still, you can't say that because he's still just a letterman. It just means he's an educated black man. We don't know until you start talking to him.
I think he's going to lose swag points for being Alfonso Ribeiro.
He is, but
And
he's also going to lose swag point because if he's anything like Carlton Banks, then yeah, people are going to be like, this dude's a square.
Like,
and don't get me started on Barack Obama.
We've all seen Alfonso Ribeiro. Like, it's not like he's a new person.
Right.
Like, if that guy in that body with that personality shows up in quote unquote the hood, he's going to get clowned.
Right, absolutely.
But by technically his own people.
Yep.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Barack
Obama, people are going to dismiss him simply because he's half black. He's
Exactly.
half white.
I mean, when he shows up in the hood in the suit, I would think he was a Muslim. I would have probably thought he was just a light-skinned Muslim. I really would. When he showed up in the hood with a suit and the education, I would have thought Muslim right off.
You got to understand something.
He'd have to show the left-handed jumper before people give him any respect.
Right, but
Lord have mercy. True, but
I have an associate. He's black. His wife is Cuban. They were having an intense moment of discussion, i.e., an argument. And a policeman saw this and pulled him over. This is in Mississippi, by the way, just to give it a little color. The cop walked over to her side and said, "Ma'am, is everything okay?" Now, she's a lighter-skinned Cuban woman. To him, she's white. He sees a black man and a white man in a car, and they're vehemently arguing and disagreeing. So he figures this white woman is in danger. I gotta save her from this black guy. She's not black. She's not white. Well, she's not black. She's not white either. And she'll tell you, I'm not white. But they were treating her like that simply because she has fair skin. And Barack Obama, if he was a president, it's like Tony said, until he'll forever be, he's a half white boy. But he got hops. That's how.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
He got hops.
I get the point that the swag point conversation, but I was just kind of curious where that was going. Like, okay, so we see Alfonso Ribeiro, we see Barack Obama in the hood, and snap assessment. Yeah, they definitely look out of place, and we're going to question their role in this environment. But
So, can I try to tie a bow on it for you?
okay,
So this whole conversation revolves around what should a parent be imbuing into their child? How much blackness, how much culture, how much, information of being black should they imbue into the child. And I think what a lot of black people feel is like, you need to teach them culture. Like, you need to teach them how to handle themselves at a cookout, how to play spades, blah, 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 blah. All these things that qualify them to being black. What if this parent feels, you know what, F that, I feel like I shouldn't have to qualify me or my child to be black. Simply because they have black skin and black blood, they are black enough. Right. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't teach them, the roadblocks of what's happening out there in the world. Like, hey, when you get stopped by, a police officer that it may not be the same color as you, or a police officer, period, watch out for this. This is your history. This is how you got here. But when it comes to your personality, the way that you act, the way that you behave, the way that you talk to people, the way that you interact with people, you don't have to curve any of that to be black. You shouldn't have to do that. And sometimes some of the best ways to teach that is to not teach all of these lines and things you got to cross to be black. That's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes is easier. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like, if you've never experienced those things, like if a child has never experienced trying to navigate the black culture and trying to fit in and failing to fit in, maybe you don't teach them any of the rules so that they grow up with no rules. You see what I'm saying? So that they grow up with an open mind. Like, I don't have to, I'm good already. I'm accepted already. I'm enough already.
Right.
Where you don't have to teach them, look out for this, look out for that. You gotta, walk this way when you here, don't wear red over there, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I feel like there's, I don't know how to wrap it up entirely, but do y'all get what I'm saying? Like,
I get it. And I wish all parents had that mindset. I want to protect my child, but unfortunately, there's parents out there that's gonna pass on their bigotry to their children. That's why we still have racists today, because people are passing down their bigotries.
I mean,
that's any culture, I think.
Yeah, that's true, and I do get what you're saying, Tony. I see what he's saying, trying to go with I catch his point of view. Teach that's like all of what I've been saying has been the history. Okay, you're teaching them the history, but we haven't actually talked about, like, okay, what are you going, when you want to show and say, well, you're going to teach them to be black per se. Now, I'm gonna say this. I mean, because of who I am, there's going to be certain things, and I say this all the time, there's certain things that get your black card revoked. And my son with my white, I'm probably going to be telling him some of the same things. When he say, Daddy, I want to go whitewater rafting, I'm going to go, son, those are things that get your black card revoked. Let me talk to you about this right here.
Man, you got a white wife. Your black card gone.
You cannot do these certain things. I'm going to go bungee jumping with my friends. And I understand what you're saying, right? I should leave him open to the culture to say, just go bungee jumping, son. I understand that. I can get your point of view, but I'm probably not going to do that. I'm going to tell my son, no, give me your black card. I'll be ready to take a mark if you want to persist in going bungee jumping. We don't bungee jump. We don't mountain climb for fun. We're climbing a mountain. We're getting away from something. We don't fly in single engine planes, crop dusting, gliders. We don't hang glide. If you bring hang gliding to me, give me your black card. I need to make some adjustments and talk to you about this. So those are like natural parts of me. The stuff you're talking about, cookouts and playing spades and stuff like that. My son who looks like Drake is gonna see that same thing regardless, right? That's what we gonna do when the family comes over. You know what I'm saying? And you want to play spades, son? You trying to get in on this game? Okay, you ain't want to die. That's fine. It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm not gonna push it, but you gonna see it. I mean, it is what it is, just because it's there. And I'm not saying pull no punches. I don't agree with deliberately not exposing him or allowing him or playing that off on him to create a clean slate for him. I will tell. I mean, in the end, to be for real, if he really wants to go, shark cage diving with his friends, I will. I got you, but I am in my mind mentally marking off on your black card. I mean, I take it, but I have put an X there. I have.
I tell you, man, if you already have a white wife, your black card's already gone.
No, it not
Really?
necessarily, Tone. Not necessarily. You haven't given it.
Really?
No. I disagree with that.
I have to disagree with
you
that
do
one.
not have to give up your black. A lot of
I will mail my
are,
black
but you
card
don't
in.
I'm
Oh
not
my
saying
Gosh.
I'm not saying
Gosh.
that I am taking it away. I'm just saying that a lot of the culture is not going to respect you because
Okay.
of that.
Okay, I can get that.
That's fair.
It's not
But-
me personally that has a problem with it.
That's
Me
black
personally,
women.
I don't care.
Especially a black. I know my black
What?
women will rip me a complete.
Well, I
overload.
get that. I get that you don't necessarily have an issue with it, but I feel like that's a different conversation with regards to the culture as a whole, And I feel like we're teetering on that line of the culture conversation as far as what's acceptable within the culture and what's not, because that's where that idea that you were talking about with being open and not teaching things and allowing them to kind of figure out stuff, I feel like that's kind of where that may be more in play. But for sake of this conversation, I think that the cultural things that need to be shared, Sean used a great word earlier, exposure. There has to be exposure to things that you're not going to get from your other. It's kind of like, you have two different parents, but we only do things that one parent does, one parent's into. We only watch TV shows that mom likes. We only listen to music that mom likes. We only eat food that mom likes. That you're kind of depriving the child from the other parent, and that's black, white, whatever. So there's got to be that exposure, and I think for me that's where this conversation is rooted: the exposure of the black parents' culture, and whatever. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with you. I think that couple is going to have to work together to give their kids that exposure. They can't be working apart. They can't be working against each other. That white party is going to have to say, hey, look, you're black. You're going to have to teach them all about being black. That is not an area that I can really touch 100%.
I'm actually take that a step further and say that the other partner should be just as actively engaged in learning as the kids are.
Well, yeah, obviously, that's not exclusive.
Well, you say obviously, but I'm just thinking back to one of the couples I was referencing in my example, and I kind of question sometimes how much the wife was engaged in actively learning parts of the culture, which is why I said it was kind of, I don't want to say rocky, but it was definitely not smooth sailing when it came to that specific item within their dynamic.
Right, and I get that. Hence the situation with my friend being upset with her ex for teaching the kids this particular thing, which he was absolutely right for doing.
Right.
I was like, hey, look, you got to understand that, this is the card that they've been dealt in life. People are gonna judge them just based on their looks. Oh, you're black. Let me hide my stuff. Like white people don't steal.
True enough. And y'all are talking about. I mentioned balance a little bit earlier and stuff too. And I mentioned that if you have the right partner, y'all are working together already with this. You know what I'm saying? And being actively engaged, because I'm sure that my white wife wouldn't appreciate me, only exposing him to, the things from the black culture. We only have our black cookouts and where we play spades and fish fries and things like that, you know what I mean? Or we only talk about, the the depictions as far as from the black culture and things like that. If his mom's Scottish, Irish, whatever, you know what I'm saying? We should be pushing that too, and she wouldn't appreciate it if I just went, okay, that's your mama thing. I ain't want to know nothing about Scottish, Ireland. When she starts talking that history, I just kind of go, yeah, I'm gonna go watch a football game. That. I don't even want to know. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even care. You go do that with mama, and I don't care. You know, that's still not a good attitude to have, just in general.
Right.
But like that's what we're talking about, bringing balance to the force. I like that.
Exactly.
So I have comment / question. Mainly a question. Okay, so we're talking about blackness that should be taught and exposure, all of this stuff. What is blackness? What is this invisible thing that you're trying to imbue to this child? What is this essence that you're trying to expose them to? So if everyone could try or make an attempt to explain what is blackness or blackness to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump out here first and get this Kendrick Lamar out of my head that I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. You know, that's
Yes,
like
sir.
the foundational part of it for me. Just imbuing this idea that as a black person, especially here in America, we didn't begin with slavery. We have roots that are much deeper and go well beyond that. You know, we want to imbue this idea of being black as a positive, because I think sometimes we carry this idea of being black as a negative or less than because of the things that we see around us. And the truth of the matter is, though those things happen and they're horrific, it's not our fault. It's not my fault if some person who has different skin from me looks at me with a negative viewpoint. I did nothing wrong. I didn't do anything. That's your perception and that's your hang up. And we need to make sure that we empower these kids to know that you didn't do anything wrong. And you should be able to be proud and stand in your truth of that. Just because you have melanin doesn't make you less than, unworthy, unloved, unteachable, bad kid, or any of that. That's on the other party. And don't carry that around on your shoulders. After we get past that, then, the floor is open. The stage becomes open, and it's like that whole world is your oyster thing, because, on some level, blackness has been involved in everything, from mathematics to, engineering, science, the arts, sports, whatever it is. There's always a way to fundamentally trace that back to something with black origins. And knowing stuff like that is very empowering. So those are the things, forget teaching kids how to play spades and, sitting at the domino table and, understanding that collards is soul food and that's subjective. But for me, the things that I was just talking about would be what I would want to define and start off with as far as imbuing blackness. I'm done.
All right, so
So-
I guess you want.
Go ahead, son.
ahead,
No,
bro.
no, you go. You got it.
I was about to say, because you said you wasn't gonna let yourself be last again. So
Good point.
So that's why I was trying to let him take the mic. But I think it's a culmination. I think and I think the one single word that I might would use with it when you say, okay, define this blackness that you're talking about, awareness. I would say just being aware of your culture, where you come from, who you are, what people came before you to make up, your DNA. Like he was saying with the Kendrick Lamar thing, this is a part of you, and you should never, ignore, you know, your roots. Because again, like I was saying from before, you know, you want to know where you came from so you can know the right path to know where you're going. And then, you know, like all of us have been saying, there's danger, because as a black man in America, we have some other dangers, you know what I mean, that are a little different. Like we keep saying it, and it's a proven fact. I mean, getting stopped by the cops for us is different. You know what I mean? When them lights go off behind us, that's a little different, and we need to let, you know, our black men know that. And that's just the being aware. It doesn't mean pushing biases. Doesn't necessarily mean, and I think where Terrence was going with the spades and things like that is pushing stereotypes. Doesn't necessarily mean that. You know, I was admitting that I probably would do that, but it does not necessarily mean saying that you have to push the individual stereotype. But I think it does mean you do have to be aware. I do not think you can walk around as a interracial, a mixed offspring, a mixed child of any culture, black, white, like I said, Latino and white, black and Cuban, whatever, and be unaware of your heritage. I think you have to be aware of it. And so when we talk about, you know, if I go back to the question Tony straight up asked, what is that blackness that we're talking about? It's that awareness of where you came from, our history, that I want to push to, you know, my son, would it be my interracial son or daughter? I want to push your history to you on both sides, but definitely that black side, because that's my responsibility as a black person in this. My ultimate responsibility is to push that and make sure that you know that.
So when it comes to blackness, just like any culture, there's certain customs and cultures that there's certain customs that comes with along with all cultures, but there's certain customs that come along with being black as well, and blackness as it is, here in America at least, this is our culture. We are American. I can't go to Africa and pretend that I'm African American. The term African American doesn't exist anywhere except America anyway. You go to British and they don't say I'm African British. They just say I'm British. I'm American. And our culture as Americans is one of both positive and negative things. The negative side being, obviously, we were brought here as slaves against our will. Some of us were already here, and just kind of ended up, as a generation moved on, falling under this negativity of slavery. But then there's positive things too. Like, we have great value in our families. We love being with our families. We respect our families, respect our elders. We hold great respect for our elders, and we enjoy our lives here in America. You know, we have our traditions, and it is these. I want to say cultures. I want to say traditions that I would pass on to my own kids if I should ever have any. This isn't looking too well, folks. But
Keep
I
hope
will.
alive.
No, we're gonna leave Hope right there on the shelf. Unless she's cute, then she can come down. But I would personally want to impress upon my kids, should I have them, that they have nothing to be ashamed of from their past. You know, the culture, even though it may seem so far behind us, it's like Terrence said, we still have, we still come from a strong, rich culture of inventive, intelligent, skilled architects, artisans, not just in singing and dancing and sports, but so much more. There's so much more to our culture than just these things that we are sidelined as being. And as far as feeding them cultural foods, look, this is American food. This is what we eat here in America. It's a staple. Chicken is a staple. Don't be offended by that. Chicken is good. If you don't eat it, then find something to eat because you're gonna die if you don't. Don't let these stereotypes throw you. Understand that you have something to be proud of. You do come from a strong people. We've survived in spite of. And not only that, we have a penchant for learning, because you can't just sit back and just accept everything at face value. You've got to look, you've got to dig, and you've got to find. Because how else will we know that all the whitewashing that has gone on in history and is really still kind of going on in the media right now? I would want them to know that, hey, you got to understand that that's not it across the board. Go back and do your research, do some digging, and find out what the case really is, so that you'll know that you aren't subjugated to just what you are presented as being. Know thyself.
Okay, so to me, blackness starts with history. First man, the original man. And looking back, there's so much to learn from and take pride in. And I think one of the things I like about it is that if you look at our history and realize how versatile Black people of the past, present have been, you realize that, and this kind of connects with some of the things I was saying earlier, you don't have to really fit into a box. You don't have to fit into a stereotype. You don't have to be, you can be great, you can be Black, you can be great and not be street, right? You can be Black, you can be intelligent and not have swag. You can be a budding Black artist and not know which one's the big joke. Like, you have range, you have opportunity, you have the ability to overcome. And just to reiterate, and you don't have to earn your Blackness. You have Blackness already, right now. If you're Black, of course. if you're Black, of course.
that better had been a given.
And when I say Black, I'm pretty much meaning someone of African descent. Someone, whether that's Egyptian, whether that's South African, whether that, Egypt too. Whether that's Nigerian,
Egypt's in Africa.
If you have African ancestry, then to me, you are a Black person or an African American. Well, here we're African American, but there are African people here that are not African American also. So keep that in mind. But to me, it's all about the legacy and the line from ancestors to present and the knowledge that goes along with that. So important to teach.
Good stuff. Good stuff indeed.
You starting to make me wonder, should we end it right here, fellas?
Yeah, I'm good.
End it with
Feels
some.
like a good. Yeah, end it with some good strong words. I like it.
It was.
Because we're already at an hour.
Yep. All right. So we went from mixed couples to what is blackness. And I think we all landed on knowing about blackness, how important it is to realize what you've come from in order to see what you can be.
Right.
Very important.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if no one has anything additional, I'm going to pass to Terrence for the closing.
Okay. So I just want to throw this one small caveat out there, just because I don't know if it really came up, and listening to the comments in my head back, I'm thinking, just to clarify, those of us who are married, we're all married to Black women. Not that that makes a difference, but I think for clarity's sake, I want to throw that out there. And also, I'm looking to try and get some different perspectives, different opinions from those who may actually be in interracial relationships. We'd love to hear from couples, both Black men with white women, Black women with white men. Talk to us. Let us know what your feedback and ideas and thoughts on this are, because we're sharing an opinion from our perspective without necessarily being in your shoes. So, as always, drop us a comment. Let us know what's going on out there, peoples. Other than that, thank y'all for listening. Like, share, subscribe. God bless you. Good night. Deuce.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.